bunch of water in it.
Yeah.
So we had to
Hey
call an HVAC.
everybody. Hope you guys are doing well. Rusty's talk about water in the basement. It's fine. No worries. We're easing into it. Uh, Hope you guys are doing well today. We're gonna get started in just a second. So while we get started, go ahead and enjoy this right here if you can. That's the first time using intro music that's not British 70s music uh, that I like. And so, but welcome everybody. I'm going to get us started here. My name is Troy McNeil, one of the founders of Option Omega today. And we actually have two special guests that I will introduce here in a second. But first off, I want to tell you that options involve risks and are not suitable for all investors. And everything we're going to be saying today is backward looking and not forward looking. As always, consult with your financial advisor before engaging in options. So, with that being said, we will get started today. Rusty, how you doing?
Doing great, man. Doing great. Weather is pretty nice here in East Tennessee. I'll say that.
It is a beautiful day in East Tennessee, and it is not a beautiful day in NVIDIA Putland. So, RIP to everybody who bought puts in
Were you
NVIDIA.
short? You were short a little bit, Nvidia, weren't you?
I was short a little bit, yeah.
Small
Nothing,
position.
nothing crazy. It was tells, so like it didn't hurt me
Sure.
at all. Um, but woulda, shoulda, coulda, because IV was pumping in it yesterday, and I could have got
Mm.
out and made a little bit. But you don't
Is
buy a
Nvidia the
tell.
entire market? That's what we should really talk about today.
Well, it is the entire market, and that's why the Nasdaq was up 430 points at some point,
Good golly.
because it is the entire market, and apparently they crushed earnings. Anyway, hope you guys are doing well today. We also have a very special guest that I'm going to bring on in a minute to say hi. You can see his name right there, also known in the Discord community as Sasquatch Bra. So I'm going to use the Discord name for the fun of it, although you can say your real name or what. But how you doing, Sasquatch Bra?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on, guys. My name's Michael.
Thank you, Michael. Sasquatch Bra, Michael, whatever. So what we're going to do today is we're going to go through the newest feature. And Rusty, as the architect, I think would be a great thing if maybe we start, or if you start, and just kind of talk through what this feature is, what this feature does. Maybe we can go through it together and just show it, and then we can look at some tests. Is that okay?
Let's do it.
Okay. If you want to share your screen, if you want to drive during the backtest create part.
Oh, you want me to do it?
I like you driving. I've always been a fan of
Why
you
don't
driving.
I don't have a demo account? Do you?
Oh, that's fine. Yeah, I can show. Yeah, that's fine. Rusty doesn't want to give away goodies.
Troy is in 4K, man. You are looking like I can see every pore on your forehead. It's kind of incredible.
I haven't. Mostly blonde, just balding hair.
I like the gray. It's wisdom. Embrace it, brother.
Lord willing. Lord willing. Okay. Well, what we'll do is we'll start with this. So can you talk through a little bit, what the heck is this super cool feature that we did?
Yeah.
What's it about and what are we going for?
So the initial feature request, I think, was driven mainly by the most popular trade out there, which is iron condors, at least in our space, right? You have a lot of people trading condors, but they want to exit them in all sorts of fashions. And so, I mean, most commonly people want to exit just the one side that was a loser, right? As the market went against them. So either the put side or the call side. And we said, well, just combine it in portfolio, but then the portfolio isn't doing full it's not a brokerage, right? We're not constantly like upgrading your margin requirements based on all the other trades simultaneously happening in the portfolio. I mean, no two brokerages even do this the same. So I don't have a whole lot of interest in implementing that. So instead of that, we thought, well, we should just implement a feature that allows you to enter as a single trade and then exit piecemeal. Because not only would that let you do cool things like put on a condor, right? Let's say a symmetrical condor, and only have to use X amount of margin rather than 2X. It could also let you do things like put on a put credit spread and only exit the short and keep the long as a runner in case some kind of crazy event happens and you in the your way out of the money long ends up being in the money at the end, and who knows, maybe you're profitable on the day because of that. So, and there's just, I don't know how many different combinations you can do, near infinite combinations of what you could do with all the different groupings, and especially because we allow 8-legged trades. And so you could do some crazy stuff. You can do, for example, butterflies and then only exit the credit side or the debit side of a butterfly. And then there's, again, you can do a double calendar and exit one side or the other, or exit the shorts. I mean, who the heck knows? I haven't even exhaustively looked at all my own live trades and seen which ones could be better yet. So that was the sort of the main feature, I think. But what it also allows you to do is just iterate quicker, right? Which has kind of always been the name of the game for Option Omega is that we want you to be able to take an idea and test it quickly without having to know how to code or anything else, and then iterate the heck out of it as fast as possible. And so again, let's say you're testing 20 delta or 25 delta or 10 delta. Well, instead of having to do two different tests on each, one on each side and iterate them in sequence, you can just say, well, how would a 20 delta condor do exiting each side? How would a 25 do exiting each side separately? And again, I think it'll speed up the feedback loop, right, on finding an edge. So,
yep, makes sense. Well, let's show how to do it. So I'm gonna let you drive. I'm just gonna be a dumb little monkey, and just do exactly what you. And that, to be fair, I mean that was your nickname for me when we used to work together in the office all the time. It's,
what was it?
Dumb monkey. Hey,
I said
look
that
at you,
every
dumb
day.
monkey.
You're right. That's pretty much my management style.
You'd feed me bananas. It was weird. It got weird at the end, but it's fine.
You had that condition with the lack of potassium, so I was really just trying to help you. I was saving your life.
Thank you for that. Put my business on the street.
So easiest way is why don't we just do a condor, right? Just go in there.
Okay.
From the strategy selector, just something year to date. I don't know what DTs, something terrible. 10 day. No one trades this 10 wide.
No one trades the 10 day, yeah. So we gotta do 0.
Yeah, we gotta do 0 day, right? And make it like, I don't know, 5 wide or something.
5 wide.
No, like wider. Make it like
sorry, 50.
Yeah, give it 50 wide wings. And then uncheck the just some basic things. Uncheck those padlocks on the longs.
Sure.
Just in case. I mean, because we've been so pumpy that some of these days there's not a 5 wide that far away. If you scroll down, I mean, who knows? We're just going to keep this as a dumb test, right? I had to practice as well. So scroll down, forget the entry conditions. We'll just enter the morning. And then, so the new feature is there under leg groups. We should probably call the feature that, because that is the feature. So get a little description there, basically what I just explained. And so given the strategy you just previously defined, if you toggle that on, you can first name your groups, right? So this will give you, one more group than you started with, which is 2. And then if you just move the calls down, call it PCS or puts and calls, or, I mean, you can really name it whatever you want. It's for your own purposes. You see that Troy has grouped the calls together and the puts together. And so now what you'll notice differs from the other, from before, is that the profit and loss and exit condition sections repeat per group, right? So you see them for puts, and if you keep scrolling, you'll see them for calls. So you can have completely separate conditions, but just as a fun test, put a 250% stop loss on each side, right? So and Oh, I mean, you ought to probably put fees and commissions on there, right? So just go down and put the standard 1.25
Sure.
or something on each side.
Do the
Okay,
tasty.
you're gonna do tasty.
Yeah.
0.1 or something, yeah, or 0.05, yeah, that's fine. All right, and then maybe a little bit more for stop loss, I guess, but there's no other exit. But whatever. All right, so run it. 7 cents? You can't get 7 cents on SPX. Try. It's actually a really good trade.
Stop loss. I know.
We found
That's
something.
worse. Yeah, what I do stop loss.
Do 30 cents. Yeah, I mean, just for
30's punitive, but yeah, stop losses are punitive.
Not on a stop loss, man. I don't know. Not on a low delta trade like this. You're gonna get gamut if this hits in a day. But so anyway, the main thing you'll notice at the top, right, where the little sections are, you'll see exit puts and exit calls. And if you actually did different, let's say you wanted to give the calls. Well, actually, let's say you want to give the puts further to run or something, but we don't have to do that now. It would look different, or
Sure,
whatever. So then, if you go to the trade log, go ahead. Sorry.
No, you're fine. Go ahead.
You'll just see that these are treated each one as separate trades. So you'll see the call side, the put side, right? Entering and exiting at various times. You see a stop, like a good example of why to do this. So on February, I cannot read. My eyes aren't as good. 15th. On February 15th, I should maximize my screen and use the larger monitor. You can see that one side was stopped and the other side expired completely worthless. So had you taken off the other side at the same time the other one was stopped, let's say you took off the entire condor, then you would have lost out on some profits and you would have spent more on fees and commissions closing that side of the trade. So that's a win. Same thing on February 12th. You can see the call side gets stopped, but the put side expires worthless. Same thing, right? So this is kind of the perfect case for why people want to trade this way.
Yeah.
And again, the advantage is it's only going to use, because this is a symmetrical condor, it's going to use half the margin than it would if you would have created two different tests and combined them in the portfolio.
Yep.
So that's pretty much it.
Okay, awesome. So let's look at some tests real quick. Was you guys' phones messed up today? Did you guys have any I heard about the outage, but I haven't noticed any. Yeah, apparently like everything's out. Like AT&T, T-Mobile. It's like like a giant.
I don't know. I haven't called anybody today, so it's kind of a blessing in disguise, right? It's kind of nice. It's been a quiet day.
Yeah, just quiet, beautiful day. Yeah.
Like the rest of human history before we had these stupid devices.
Team Luddite. I like it. That's the terrible, like, learning to do marketing too. Like, hey, let me know, hit that like and subscribe. Let me know in the comment if your mobile phone's out right now. Anyway, okay.
So you get when you get off script with Rusty, you're gonna get grumpy.
That's right. Yeah, I like it. So what we're gonna do is look at a couple tests just to kind of show you some options with this, and pun intended, how it works. I usually like to go bottom to top, but today we're going to go top to bottom just because this one's funny. So Matt is having a issue at the house right now with his basement water. Shout out to Matt. So he couldn't be on, but he didn't know I was going to do this, but he has one that he likes to call the silly kangaroo. And Matt is the most, I just put it in chat so everybody can see it. Matt is the most like conservative. I don't know, Rusty, is that fair? Matt's pretty conservative. Like
he's a conservative fellow. Yeah, I mean he did a good job. He wasn't in on GME, so that only goes so far. Right?
Can you hear me?
He made some money on GME.
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Can you hear me?
Yeah. What did you say about Matt? Sorry, I didn't hear it.
I said he's conservative, but we have to caveat that with he was in on the GME meme stuff.
That's true. So yeah, that's right. But he would say, on behalf of Matt, I want to say, he would say, do not ever trade this. Like in real, like there's so much data on this that's it'd be scary to trade this in real life, but I thought it was interesting. So he calls this the silly kangaroo. This is run. I'm going to run it just to give it that extra day. I'm going to basically, this is what you're doing. You've got a put credit spread and a call credit spread. But if you look, it's zeroed out. So basically, it's just a very, very small, in fact, is it inverted? Let's see here. No. So you're getting a little bit. So basically, this is a perfect example. Opening price 49.70. It's a basic at the money 5 wide fly that basically you do it in the morning every Tuesday. It's a Tuesday trade. 10% of the portfolio. Again, I think Matt would be like, hey, this is just showing this off. We're not advocating for the silly kangaroo. We're not team silly kangaroo traders yet. But if this takes off, who knows? But the exit is 60% basically the call credit spread, or 60% profit target, the put credit spread. And he's got 2 profit targets. And it was interesting because he has some pretty conservative stuff. Oh, got those dogs barking. He's got some pretty conservative stuff on it. And that's a pretty crazy win rate at a 10% portfolio. That's the way. So that's interesting, just for the fun of it, because we like to do this. What would happen if we go 100%? So never, as always, remember, children, never full port anything in your life. Never full port anything but love for each other.
Go 50%. Do 50%.
Your dog does not like this trade. So yeah, after it's a small. Now you got me interested. So
hey, there's a mar that we like.
Yeah, there's that mar. So 760. Yeah, I'm gonna just see real quick. Yeah, so anything really past 15-20% gets wonky. Also, if you run this at any point in history, you lose over time. So that just shows you what year to date has done, which we always say on the year to date.
You can call this the year to date. Tuesdays are snoozy test.
Yeah. It's a snoozy little day. That's right. Yeah. Next up is one from our friend Wizzy, dear friend of the show. Shout out to Wizzy. I'm going to show you one that he showed us the old way, and then show the new way. So the old way, this is basically kind of a ratio. So you're selling 2 of the 25 delta put and 2 of the 25 delta call. And you are buying basically one that's 5 points and then one that's 100 points. So think of this as like a weird ironed wing of different widths, if that makes sense. Wizzy's genius. So this is, he shows tests like this, and we're like, okay, makes complete sense. Why didn't we think of the old 5 wide, 100 wide, different spread? Open trades first thing in the morning, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. Use exact DTE. Exit when the call is tested. Exit when the put is tested. 2.5 points past it. Now he doesn't have anything as far as like slippage or anything like that. He's just got some opening fees. So this is the old way, and pay attention to the MAR. It's 99.9. Doing the exact same test, but splitting it out, improves the MAR, 2.5 fold, a pretty big jump. He has some notes here that you can put in here. I'm going to share it. He's basically talking about slippage and things like that. But basically, we have done nothing different between these 2 tests except for splitting them using this new feature. And so it shows kind of how would you put that together, Rusty? What would you do with that information where you have a 90 MAR with one test, that's closing everything versus something like this? Do you have any takeaways from stuff like that?
I mean, So first of all, go to the trade log on this one. It's the first thing I start to look at and see how it's performing. So yes, you're doing a credit trade. And my guess is because it's only 5 wide on that on the closest long, right on the basically the debit portion of each of the butterflies, that you need some premium to bake off on what other side is losing. I mean, I don't know. It's kind of weird because there's a broken wing. I'm guessing that sometimes you hit a Yahtzee where this thing expires under the 10 or near the 10 on one side, and you're still going to get a credit for the other side. So that it's similar to the condor in a sense, right? And that you should just let it expire for the credit that you received.
Yeah.
The odds of getting tested on both sides are pretty low, but I'm sure that it happens on occasion.
That's the main thing, right? I mean, that's the main thing we're testing here with leg groupings is, before you had to take everything off, whereas now you have a little bit more functionality. You can say, well, let the other side expire, and it shows that actually proves pretty well. And so I thought that was interesting. That's a good one to look at, of just like how this can improve a test. I thought that was pretty interesting. So we'll keep going. Tuesday's Chop City.
When do you like to answer questions? At the beginning, like right away, or do you want to wait till the
end?
end?
Sorry, we can go back. Sorry, I wasn't even paying attention. Let's start from the back. What does the win percent?
Well, neither of them have to do with that. I guess one of them had to do specifically with that test or with tests in general. And Stephen asked what the win. I guess Stephen, it's the same. The logic is simple. It just takes the number of trades and how many of those were profitable, and that determines the winners. And so, yeah, so they're treated as separate trades. Is Matt on? Option Mega just answered. Was that chat?
Yes. It's welcome, not a Matt.
Welcome.
I was terrified that the AI had taken over without my knowledge.
The AI makes even worse
very accurate answers
mistakes
to
than I do.
It's terrifying. It's sad that that's the world we live in, where my first assumption was not that Matt was on, but that the AI had taken over.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's the right answer, is that, yeah, it's because they are treated as separate trades. It just Matt bought it. Indeed. Because they're treated as separate trades, it's just going to sum them all up and then figure out how many of those were profitable. So it's not the entry, but it's the again, looking at the trade log, the easiest way to say is, well, the trade log treats them as separate tests, ergo the percentage is going to be that. So, yeah. I don't know if that answers. I think that answers the question.
Yeah, and not ignoring you, Spooky Castle. We'll answer that one at the end, because that one's a more generative feature thing.
The question is, do we have plans to do that? I will say briefly that was the first thing asked, and I would like to add that, yes. The question would be, yeah, that we could do that at the very end. We'll do that at the end.
Yeah, we'll do it at the end. That would
question, but the answer is it's been asked for. I would like to do it.
Love it. While Matt's on, Matt, I mean, this is your thing. This is your team, Silly Kangaroo. You are starting. Any thoughts on that? I told the people don't. Matt would not want you to trade this blindly without at least hearing his pitch for it first.
Yeah, I mean, all I did was, it wasn't even Tuesday. I think it was maybe yesterday. My days are kind of running together, but we ended up with a big move and then finished back where we started, kangaroo style. And so I literally was just thinking, well, and I actually shout out Wizzy, inspired by Wizzy in the chat, has discussed trades that I don't know if they're discretionary or back tested, but where you go long on a strangle and leg out of them, or I guess you could do it with a straddle, whatever. And so this is that same philosophy of just this idea that the market's going to jump around like a kangaroo. And so you just exit each side. Obviously this has an N of 16. It's not really, it's not enough data. If you run it all a long time period, I don't think it works very well. It's just an interesting trend to observe. And I don't know if you guys talked about this, so apologies if you did. If you wanted to do some more playing with this idea as being an idea generator, a 0-1 at the money calendar does even better. So I shared one of those in the
But that
test
doesn't
threads in
have,
the Discord.
but that doesn't have two different. That's not group.
Oh,
based.
it doesn't have this leg group. What it did was, it was just kind of an idea that, hey, the market's going to go up and down, and if you're in this condor, you can close them separately. And so at the end of the day, a lot of times it's back kind of where it was. So just a single at the money calendar 0-1 on Tuesday, Wednesdays, you would have done well this year. Again, the problem with these trades, and a lot of people watching this are going to be a lot smarter than I am, and they may be able to see when the market is changing conditions or whatnot. I, a lot of times, cannot. I don't maybe have the experience and knowledge to understand always when the market is changing, because this has only been, a couple weeks since the beginning of the year. It's just a trend. So I felt like leg groups were a good way to notice that trend.
Yeah, and I mean that's the thing we always hear is, how do you know when it's a trend and when it's like a good trade? It's like, let us know if you figure that out too. I mean, we're all in this together.
Yeah, give us a shout out. Yeah, please.
Yeah, what's happening year to date is happening year to date. I can't promise it's going to stop or it's going to continue or whatever. It's just this is what the data shows us, what's happening year to date, and that's the way we look at it.
That's right.
Let's keep going. Did I end up showing? Yeah, I ended up showing this. Yeah, year to date, Chop City, Tuesday, similar to the Silly Kangaroo. But basically, you open this in the morning. This is a calendar. It's a put spread, but it has nothing to do. I don't know why this got added to the single entry multi exit. You can't really.
Oh, that's the test. That's what I'm talking about. That's
there it is.
That's why I put it in there.
That's why I put it in there. Perfect. Yeah. Okay. Well, we can go through that one. Okay. This is a classic. This kind of a classic, right? In some ways, like this is another a whizzy one. And so I'm gonna put this in here. What are you doing? This is 22.5 delta. Was it getting funny with the deltas? Put and call, and then it's 75. So it's a 75 wide 22 delta condor. Nothing crazy. You open it Mondays, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, 9:32 in the morning. You exit, so that you exit each side. You exit when the put is tested. You exit the put side. You exit when the call is tested, plus 2.5 points. And he's got the re-entry, which we'll get to in a minute because I know people have asked. But he has re-entry, which means currently that you are going to put another condor on, not just the side that got stopped out, but you're going to put the full condor on. This is run about 13 months, maybe 14 months. And, if you're looking for like a 0-day condor, this is an interesting one, and again, we're not financial advisors, but people are always asking us for what's a good 0-day condor. And this is kind of the most classical condor you could get for 0-day. And just a reminder to everybody, there's nothing classical about 0-day. We're like in a frontier world at this point. Like I talk to all the people all the time. They're like, like we've now gotten to this world where people are like, what do you think of like long dated stuff, like 1 or 2 days? What are you talking about? It's crazy. But anyway, for a 0-day condor, this is pretty interesting. So again, just letting the premise is you're letting the sides run. I'm just sending the same test over and over again to the chat because I get excited. Anyway, you're letting the sides run. Let's keep going. This is the last one, and for this we have a special guest. Michael, how you doing, sir? If you can hear me.
Hey guys, thanks for having me on.
Thanks so much.
Yeah,
also known again in the Discord is Sasquatch Bra, which is my favorite. And he posted a really good test, an interesting test. And it was a variation on something that David Sun is doing. David Sun, friend of the program. And I kept playing around with it, and I asked him like, hey, do you mind me sharing that? And then I thought to myself, he's thought about this test and I haven't. So I would love to have him on and just have someone in the community talk for a second about what they're thinking with this and go from there. So Michael, it's all yours, but I'll share the kind of test.
Great. Yeah. So I think just to cover my bases, I'll just reiterate, I'm not a financial advisor either. So anything we talk about here, just informational and entertainment purposes only. Furthermore, I think on the Discord, you can find me. You may see me posting as M. Amon as I'm on here. And so let's get into it. So with this overnight ratio strangle, as we're calling it, this is based off of one of David's sons with the tradebusters.com ideas that he's been apparently still live trading. He's got his trade log up on that website. You can go through and check it out. And he just put one of those on yesterday. So the way this trade is working is we're trying to take advantage of overnight risk. And, a lot of folks don't like to do that. So we're taking the opposite side and hoping that there's some edge there. So what we're going to try and do is sell a put at about 15 delta. And that's generally going to have a positive return over the last 10 years or so. Everything that's back testable in the Option Omega website. And furthermore, we want to see if you can also have some positive expectancy with selling a call. Now, what you may find is that a traditional iron condor setup entered at the end of the day with equal width wings and equal deltas. That call side is not going to have a great expectancy. Anybody who's looked at historical overnight data knows that most of the jumps in the SPY happen overnight. Over the last 30 years. So it does make sense that certain deltas are just not going to work as far as that goes. But it turns out that lower deltas, there's going to be a small amount of positive expectancy there. Not as much as you get from selling a put, but we can take advantage of some of the buying power that we have, that margin that you get from selling a put. Now you can also sell a call side if you just target a lower delta. And so what we're going to wind up doing is, because we're going to use a low delta, we want to have roughly equal deltas on either side. So that's where we get this idea of a ratio strangle, is if there's 5 deltas and we want to make up a total of 15 deltas on either side, then we'll sell 3 of them. And turns out that also is a bit of an approximation for how much buying power you're using. You roughly work out to the same amount of buying power used by the 3 call spreads versus the single put spread. And so let's get into the back test that we've set up here. You can see I've got 3 groupings. You have the short put, the short call, 3 of them at 5.5 delta there, and then you have the buying power reduction grouping. And the reason why I've grouped the long options here is just so that they don't get exited when either the short put or the short call gets stopped out. And you could group them together. This might be a confusing way to look at it here. But generally, you're not going to be able to sell that 1 DTE 5-cent put or call for anything. You're not going to get a fill on that once your put gets stopped out most of the time. So I just throw it in a separate group so it's not getting exited, and then you save a little bit of fees in the back test. And you can see that the short put has a stop loss here, $1 stop loss, and then the call spread has a percentage stop loss. And I think that just tends to work a little bit better for the calls, since you have some like 30-cent stuff going on back in 2016, and most of the calls you're selling in 2023 are being sold for 50 cents to $1. So it's a little bit harder to do a fixed premium stop for the calls. And Troy, did you manage to get the link to the test before the CME update, I guess?
For some reason, it didn't it was like it wasn't saved. It just blanks out on me. Oh, actually, I say that, and here it is real quick. So let me do that real quick. Let me stop screen sharing.
So one of the main things this new update has allowed us to do is that we can now model the margin requirements between both of these legs properly. And we can see that idea that you're going to get equivalent margin usage between the putt side and the call side, that's actually more verifiable. And we had to ignore those margin requirements beforehand, model in a portfolio, and just set everything to one contract. So take a look here. Yeah, so this is what it would look like before the CME update. And that's just using one contract off of $100,000 buying power. Do we have any questions in the chat there?
We'll give it a minute while they're doing it. That was a really good description, Michael. I appreciate you getting thorough on it real quick.
And I'll just reiterate. This is all stuff that David's son talks about on his podcast. He does have a podcast. If you're not familiar with him, he's on Spotify on the Trade Busters podcast.
Shout out David's
he's got
son.
about 3 or 4 different episodes covering his development of this trade and the iterations of it. So the one we've showed here today is just a variation of some of the prior work that he's done. I think he calls it like ERN 3.0, something like. I'm not sure what the acronym stands for. Maybe like early retirement now. I'm not sure what that is. Yeah. That's he'll probably explain it with a lot more detail, and if it's something that you're interested in iterating on, and you can follow him on there. And also there's a lot of users on his Trade Busters Discord that have developed it also.
That's awesome. No, I appreciate it. That was great. And yeah, there's a thin line depending on how you set up a backtest between ERN and URN. Every time I hear earn, I just think of like, well, that's what a lot of my trades do. It's like they're just a giant death earn. So I like an ERN. Sounds a lot better.
Ashes around the market.
Exactly. Matt, you asked something?
Indeed.
No, I was just giving you a drum roll for your joke.
Oh, thank you so much. And the other
I don't
thing,
have a soundboard hooked up.
The other thing I was going to say real quick while we look at this is, and I try to say this as much as I can, but it's important to remember it for those who are watching who have no idea who we are. This is Option Omega. It's a back tester. For those who use Option Omega, just as a reminder, when you look at these tests, it's so easy to be fooled by randomness. And that's part of the tester in the first place, is try to not be fooled by randomness. But you look at this and you say, you might be like watching this afterwards and like fast forwarding and just kind of going through it. And you might think to yourself, well, out of these tests, like the silly kangaroo, with its MAR of 10 million or whatever, it's clearly the superior trade, right? So I'll just do that one. Well, this trade has 16 trades, right? Versus a 2.8 MAR, which just to put caveat on 2.8 MAR over a long period of time is a legendary trading strategy.
Legend.
It's a legendary trading strategy. So again, we're not financial advisors, but there's a MAR of 2.8 over 3,000 trades.
And
so you have to take, what's that? Sorry.
And I believe it's only using 40% margin. Is that what this says?
Yeah. 49% margin. So you have to take into consideration not just MAR, not just CAGR. You have to take into consideration a lot of things when you're trying to put together a strategy. And so just as a reminder for that, when you're looking at this stuff, be aware of that.
And if I can jump in on that,
yeah.
If you're looking at this back test, it's also worthwhile playing with some of these parameters here and say increasing the deltas on the call side and see what happens when you do that, because you might start to notice that there are some instance of overnight risk happening. As a little homework assignment for anybody in the audience, try developing this trade for the weekend. You
Yeah.
may find some differences in expectancy if you take a 3 DTE, 3
Yeah.
to 5 DTE since 2016. We've had the Wednesday expirations over the weekend. But you also probably see that there are some times where you have some blowouts to the upside or the downside. And so that puts it a little bit more into perspective, the risk that you're taking on here. So, just 49%, maybe even a little bit too much, but it does make it easier to see the drawdowns if you're using a high allocation when you're back testing.
Yeah, and this has several major events. You've got COVID, you have Volmageddon. Tomorrow you'll have last night's Nvidia earnings. I mean, you'll be able to see this. To your point about, I think you guys are making the point about robustness, and thank you, Michael, about the idea that these tests are a springboard for you to develop your own tests. Troy's point about robustness. I mean, you've got the trade that I was making fun of that I posted, which had an N of 16. I mean, you have 3,000 back tests here. So
Yeah, for sure.
it's not apples and oranges. It's like
apples and
it's
airplanes.
it's like apples and SUV tires.
Mm.
They're both
Yeah.
things.
Yeah. Oh, it's is that Talladega night? It's like go together like coconuts and apple butter or something. Anyway, Michael, again, thank you so much.
Thank you, Michael.
Thanks for having me
Discord.
on, guys.
Yep, sure thing. Guys, before we end, I know we had that one question we're going to go back to. The question of, well, what was the question? You guys saw it.
So the question was, do we ever
guys.
plan on modifying the re-entry to work to only re-enter the side that was essentially exited? And so the issue with that is that when you re-enter a trade, if you don't have a fixed width spread, for example, right? Let's say you have a $5 short and a $1 long. The width of that may change drastically when you re-enter it later in the day. Obviously, it would be less. So I mean, I don't know, maybe that's not a great example. But anyway, the point is that you can do all kinds of goofy things, right? You can have now that every single leg in the strategy can be of a different type, right? You can mix in deltas with fixed prices, with offsets and all kinds of stuff. That my only concern would that be re-entering just that side. I'd have to do some tricky margin calculations about what was going to happen. So that's all. And making sure that it was consistent with multiple brokerages. I mean, we've tried to do our best to have that work with as many, with a commonality across brokerages as much as possible, knowing that no two brokerages do everything the same, right? The other day I was trying to put on a 7-day butterfly at the same time as a 6-7 DC, and Tastyworks decided to use all my margin or half of it or something insane for no reason. So versus IB did not do that. So it's whatever. Yeah, that's a good point. Wizzy just posted in Scar Lounge Talk. No reentry with $ legs, but it could also be, you could do deltas and offsets could also have the same problem. Offset from current price or something goofy. So it's not insurmountable. I think Castle asked the question. It's not, and I know Wizzy asked for it as well. So it's not insurmountable, but it's just going to take a little bit more thinking than just put the thing back on. So I just want to make sure we do it right when we do it. That's all.
It's our favorite way to do things is the right way. So we try to do that as much as we can. Guys, I appreciate you being with us and ending today. Again, for those who bought any puts on anything yesterday, besides selling them, who bought the puts, 2 suggestions for you real quick before we end. One, for those who feel like they're struggling, who don't want to give up on life, it's one of the greatest stories of just perseverance you'll read. You'll walk away from it. I'm taking it with me on vacation because I want to read it again. And then if you feel like you failed, you feel like you really it's not the one that got away. Like, you failed the mission by buying those puts. I want to suggest to you King Arthur and his Knights, because you got to go on an adventure. You got to read.
Those are Lindy. Those are Lindy books. Boy. People have been reading them for a long time. They're probably still going to be reading them a long time from now.
I try to only read Lindy books. That's my
Hemingway's overrated. I'm just gonna throw that.
Don't freaking do this.
Agreed.
Right.
Agreed.
Listen, I appreciate you guys. Thankful for Matt being here and Michael being here.
Michael was our best guest of the day. Is that undeniable?
I mean, out of when we were all four on, I think, he was definitely number one.
He elevated the quality a lot.
You did elevate it.
Yeah, and I guarantee you he likes Hemingway. But I'm not going to ask him.
Please clarify in Discord if you think Hemingway is overrated or not.
He's overrated.
Like that. Hey, hit that like and subscribe, and put in the comments if Hemingway is a baller or not. Yeah, we're going for that content, baby. So yeah, and shout out to my computer who suddenly woke up today and said, "I'm going to do 4K from here on out."
You didn't choose violence. Your computer chose.
I thought you had an external.
I did too.
No,
I need to get one.
Your forehead's very shiny. It's got a glow to it now.
I think it's probably like self-perpetuating. Just the glow is making it more clarifying. I agree.
Guys, the market's up 100 points as everybody expected, clearly. So,
yeah, I was telling them how I bought NVIDIA puts, but not enough to get hurt, just enough to remember. So, anyway,
went all the way to zero.
Yeah. Hey, listen. If you're a perma bear, things just went on sale even more.
Yeah, Troy, I thought it was me, but the chat is saying the books were backwards.
Because it's mirrored, and so
so this is King Arthur.
Yeah,
and his knights.
Yeah. King Arthur and his knights. I don't know how to unmirror things. Ernest Hemingway, Old Man in the Sea.
You don't need that one. You don't need that one.
Good to see you guys, and we will be back. We're going to be out next week. There's no year-to-date show next week, but the following week we'll have a lot more data. Lord willing, even maybe a down day or two. That'd be great for our data collection. So, appreciate you guys. Have a great rest of your time.
Like and subscribe for more of this banter. And if you don't, banter, make sure to like and subscribe.
And please make sure to smash that like and subscribe. And
Stop
remember,
saying that. You're driving me crazy.
Remember the two things. We want to know what you think about Hemingway, and we want to know if your cell phone service went out. So really looking forward to those comments. All right, guys, we'll talk to you soon.